Hey everyone, my name's Camille, and I'm going to be walking you guys through how to use tidy models in R to train some machine learning models on text data. So if you want like a more general overview of machine learning, I recommend you watch Helen's tutorial from last year. In this tutorial, we're going to go a bit more into how to train models using text data. So if you have I don't know, interview-based data or survey-based data where people used a lot of text to write whatever they wanted, and you want to predict something, some outcome based on that text data. That's what we'll be working on today. So there's two main kinds of outcomes or ways you can use these kinds of models. You can train machine learning models to be in a regression format where you're like predicting a continuous variable, which is what we're going to be doing today. Or you can use classification, which would be grouping into two groups. So that would be something more like using people's text responses to determine if they, I don't know, some group variable, if they had brown hair or blonde hair, something like that. That's probably not something you'd actually want to predict on, but something like that. Today, we're not going to be doing classification models. We're going to be doing regression models, like I said. So we're actually going to be taking reviews of coffee to see if we can predict the rating or like the score that people gave this coffee. What's cool about this sort of approach is that you can then extract which words that we saw in the reviews that are most associated with higher scores or lower scores. And then you can take that and generate insights about kind of what sort of coffee should we make next? Do people hate this kind of flavor or love this kind of flavor? These are the kinds of insights you can generate using this approach. I mentioned we're going to be using the Tidy Models framework. Tidy Models is awesome. It's like a framework, much like Tidyverse, but specifically for modeling. It's great because a lot of times when people code these different kinds of models you might want to use, like linear regression or decision trees or random forests or support vector machine, they all take different inputs in like different formats, which make it really complicated to compare and code them all. So Tidy Models is a way of, or is a framework that helps to kind of make everything consistent, the inputs consistent, the formatting consistent, and that makes it really easy to compare across different approaches because like the way you make the code is more or less the same as opposed to all being different. That'll make more sense once we get into the tutorial, but just as a heads up, that's one of the benefits of using this approach. We're going to focus a lot today on basically how to use text data to predict these models. So specifically feature engineering. So like, how do we actually take these little blurbs that people wrote and like create variables to put into our model? And then the other main thing we'll be focusing on is training a couple different models and comparing across them. So maybe you want to try like different sorts of feature engineering, something a little more complicated, something a little more simple, and see if the simple one outperforms the complicated one, something like that. Or maybe you want to try a couple different actual machine learning algorithms. So maybe you want to try something simple, like a linear support vector machine, like I talked about, or you want to try something complicated, like XGBoost is a really buzzy one right now that people talk about a lot. So again, we can compare those two algorithms and compare the approach and then decide which one is best or at least best for our needs, and save it out as a last fit and visualize some of our results and ultimately get to that insight of like, what kind of coffee is best or what kinds of products should we make in the future? Or in any kind of research setting, pulling out like what the knowledge is from your data and what features are most predictive of your outcome, basically. So I will be walking through this with you over Zoom, but of course, if you're watching this later on, feel free to email me And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.